Good evening, everyone. If you're here for the Japanese beetle treatment webinar, you're in the right spot. I'm going to go ahead and turn my camera off so I have a little bit of better bandwidth, but I wanted to say hello. A few things before we get started: that this webinar is being recorded in hopes that it will be available for playback later on our YouTube channel in case people were not able to make it. The second thing that you'll notice is that you came into the meeting unmuted. I ask that you stay that way so we can hear the presentation. However, if you have a question at any time, go ahead and post it in the chat box or in the Q&A. With us, we have Camilo Acosta, our Japanese beetle eradication coordinator. He'll be available to help field questions at the end. And my name is Cassie. I am an outreach specialist. We work for the Washington State Department of Agriculture within the pest program. So if you think about regulating, advocating, and all of the services provided for growing in agriculture, you have to think about pests, which leads us into what we're here today, bringing it back to you attendees. We're here to learn about the topic of Japanese beetle and really what you can do to help right now. Now, there's different things that you can do at different times of the year, every year, but right now we're really focusing on getting you ready for treatments. And for some of you, that's what your job is right now, is to sign up for these free treatments. Now, a good thing about signing up with the Washington State Department of Agriculture is that a licensed professional is treating your lawn with a selective pesticide and following strict regulations. So if you are in Yakima, Benton, or Franklin County, you need to know what this pest, Japanese beetle, is. Right now, living below your feet in the soil are Japanese beetle grubs. It's a white C-shaped grub with a brown tan head and visible legs, anywhere from an 1/8 to an inch long. And what it's going to be doing is waking up in the spring and eating your grass roots. It also ate your grass roots all throughout the fall. So in the spring, you'll go to water your lawn, hoping that it's going to turn green, and it will just have yellow and brown patches and never turn green if you're in this area with Japanese beetle. So this could impact your yard, your neighbor's yard, but think about also your church, a recreational area, parks and schools, golf courses. They're all impacted by this pest. And then with an abundance of yummy grubs in the soil, you have different animals that will come and tear it up farther. So to have that nice looking luxurious lawn, as well as to protect your neighbors and your community, you really need to go online and sign up for Japanese beetle treatments. Now, another caveat to that is there's this U.S. domestic Japanese beetle harmonization plan, and it is this 43-page long federal guidebook telling each state how to operate, whether they have or don't have Japanese beetle. And I have a map of the United States here that I'll show to you. You see areas of purple. Those states have Japanese beetle. It's in the East Coast. It's spread about halfway across the states. Then you see areas of green and yellow and brown where they're looking for and haven't found Japanese beetle. What this tells me is I know that over there in the East, they have Japanese beetle. Whether they're growing, whether they're living, moving, and doing things in the area, especially farmers, they want to move things to different parts of the state that don't have Japanese beetle. Well, they're going to have a tougher time because what that guidebook says is you need to follow stricter guidelines. You need to make sure everything you're moving is free of pests so that we're not spreading Japanese beetle to the other side of the state. So if we think about us over here in Washington, well, we're not lit up with the beetle. But if we continue to fight and we're not signing up for treatments, we could turn into a state that's lit up with Japanese beetle. And then what happens to us is we have to spend more money and more of our time to try to get our goods out. That's even if the states and countries around us want them, because now we have Japanese beetle. So in order to just not protect your community, but also protect the agriculture around us in our whole state, is to really encourage yourself and your neighbors to learn about Japanese beetle, learn about the treatments, and give a response and get yourself signed up. It's free, it's at no cost to you. So you might learn about Japanese beetle and have your lawn treated and work to protect your community, and so does your next neighbor. But then, unfortunately, that last neighbor, we didn't really learn about Japanese beetle and we didn't sign up for treatments. Their property is going to grow Japanese beetle. And unfortunately, beetles don't discriminate, so they could easily come back to your houses. And that's kind of why it's really important that we all work together and we all learn about this problem and work to remove it. It's going to take multiple treatments, multiple times coming back to your lawn to get rid of this pest. And we're looking at doing this right now in 3 different spots. Here's kind of this first area in and around Wapato. So if you live anywhere with inside that red square or operate a business and have some lawn or turf, you may be in a Japanese beetle treatment area. Then we're going to kind of move down the road heading east into the Sunnyside, Grandview, Mabton area. You can also see that we do jump the county line over in Benton County. So any of that property inside that red square could be within the treatment area. The last place that we're looking at is going to be the area of Pasco in Franklin County and just a little bit across the water, a couple areas in Benton County. So if you're a resident and you own a business and you have lawn or turf, what you should be doing is signing up for Japanese beetle treatments. Earlier this month, we sent a letter to property owners. It had this cover letter on it and it had some forms inside and a business reply envelope. We ask that you fill out that form and stick it in the envelope and it will come back to us. However, if you're in that area and you did not receive a letter, maybe you're a renter, maybe your address has changed, maybe you are running a business from a property, or maybe a management company would typically receive your mail. You can still fill out the Japanese beetle consent form. You can still sign up for Japanese beetle treatments. This paper is available at your city hall. The last way that you can do it is you can take your mobile device, your cell phone, your tablet, your computer, anything that connects to the internet, go online to our website, agr.wa.gov/Beetles, and click the Sign Up Now button. When you click the button, it will take you to an online form. This online form asks you for a unique 5-digit PIN. It's kind of like your password to get into that property. Your PIN, if you got the letter, is up there in the top corner. That 5-digit PIN is what you're going to enter on your phone. If you missed your letter, lost your letter, didn't get one, we can give you that PIN so that you can get in. Just give us a phone call, 1-800-443-6684, or send us an email, pest@agr.wa.gov. If all else fails, we will do our best. We can come to your house, give you a form, and help you get signed up. Our goal is to treat every single property to be successful year after year. So if you signed up last year, you got to sign up this year and look forward to continuing to work together. Once you've signed up, though, you're good to go. We will contact you in the spring to notify you of treatments. Just make sure that when you signed up, you gave us the correct contact information. I know spring seems a little bit far out, but it really helps us get all the properties lined up. It helps saving us valuable time and money trying to continue to send out letters and get you signed up. So talk to your neighbors and help be an advocate for your community. In the past, treatments have happened during the day as they will continue. In the past, it's been anywhere from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And your lawn will always be treated by a licensed professional, and WSCA staff is always present in the area. If you're home, we'll knock on your door, we'll answer any questions you might have, but you don't have to be home for treatments. You just need to make sure that all your gates are open for access and that your animals are put away and that your items are off the lawn. If you have the time to mow before, that's awesome, but you don't need to be home. You'll know that our treatments are done because we will leave a door hanger and we will leave a yard sign. If for some reason we show up and we can't treat your property, we will leave a mistreatment sign and we will work to reschedule that treatment. Once the treatment area is dry, you can re-enter it. You just need to stay off of it while it is still wet. We will be using acelepryn with the active ingredient chlorantraniliprole. It is a low concern for human health and EPA classified as a reduced risk pesticide with a good safety record. No case of its illness have been reported to the Department of Health from a acelepryn application. If you have further health-related questions, I really encourage you to visit the Department of Health's website on Japanese beetle, and I will go ahead and post that link into the chat box for you. Now, there's other things that you can do throughout the year after signing up for Japanese beetle. For example, the next thing that you'll need to be on the lookout for is the adult beetle. You're going to want to look for a green metallic beetle with copper wing covers about the size of your fingernail. And you'll see it out in the summer. It will be eating leaves, buds of flowers, mating, dropping some eggs, and continuing. Now, the beetle doesn't really discriminate. It skeletonizes leaves and foliage, and it feeds on over 300 different types of plants. If it's green and leafy, a flower or a bud, it could be a target. So in the spring, those grubs are going to wake up and eat those grass roots. They'll hatch into the adults who are going to be eating and mating, laying eggs above the surface, continuing to eat and mate and lay more eggs. Then those eggs will hatch into the grubs, who move around and eat those roots some more, and that cycle will continue. Grubs can also eat other ornamental roots as well. The other things that we're doing about it is, remember, this is going to be multiple years. I said that you need to sign up for treatments every year because it's going to take us a couple tries before we could potentially be successful. So those treatments, that's the first step. We really need you to respond and sign your property up, encourage your neighbors to educate themselves as well. The next thing that we're doing is we are trapping for beetles. I know I need a treat at your house because I have caught Japanese beetles nearby. And the last thing we'll do is quarantining. So treating or trapping for Japanese beetle. Here, I have to restart the PowerPoint. I've been having a trouble loading this slide today. Okay. I apologize. I've had a little bit of difficulty getting this map to show up today, so I will unfortunately show it to you on a smaller screen. We are trapping for Japanese beetle. Here is a map of Japanese beetle trap locations. These black dots that you will see scattered throughout the area are where we've placed Japanese beetle traps. And then you can see the overlay of the Japanese beetles. Those are where Japanese beetle have been caught. And I will go ahead and focus your sights into that Yakima, lower Yakima Valley as you hop in your car in Yakima and drive down through to the Tri-Cities. So over up in Wapato, you can see the yellow dots. That's where the traps have caught Japanese beetles. And then as you head down in your car, you start to see them again in Sunnyside, down into Mabton, and into Grandview. And lastly, there's our catches down in Wapato. Let's see if I can get this to start again. Okay, we set over 5,000 traps in this area and we caught over 26,000 beetles. So in addition to looking for those beetles in the summer and us trapping for them, you want to think about what you're doing. If you're out mowing your lawn, trimming your trees, cutting flowers and moving them, they could have Japanese beetles in them, and you could be moving Japanese beetle. Kind of the same thing throughout the year. Um, if Japanese beetles larvae or eggs are in the soil, you move that, you could be moving Japanese beetle. Even if you have a potted plant sitting out on your porch and Japanese beetle's been eating it, you move that plant, well, there could be eggs in it and you're moving Japanese beetle. So you kind of have to think about where it lives and when. This is the third prong to our approach is around that middle treatment area, we are imposing a quarantine. Basically, what it says is Japanese beetle is inside that area. That's where we've caught it in our traps. It could be present on certain things. And if you move things that it eats or that it lives in or that it lives on to new areas, you could be moving or spreading Japanese beetle. So landowners in this area are bringing their yard waste to drop-off sites, and farmers in this area are working behind the scenes to create compliance agreements and mitigate those risks. So if you're inside of a Japanese beetle treatment area, the best thing that you can do is leave plants and soil and other items that could carry Japanese beetle inside that treatment area so we're not spreading it around Washington state. So that's the trapping, the treating, and the quarantine. It'll be multiple years of us working together to remove Japanese beetle. Couple last things for you to know, and then we'll kind of have a chance to hit everyone's questions. Is I really encourage you, if you haven't already, to open up your phone and type in our website. It will take you to this homepage, but I really want you to scroll down and look for our interactive map. We have a map up on our website in real time that you can enter an address, your address to see if it's in the treatment area or a quarantine area. And you can also see if it's near a Japanese beetle detection. This is very helpful in signing up for treatments. And educating your neighbors. The last thing that you can do is you can sign up for updates and you can join our Facebook group. This is the best way to stay informed about the project, whether we have an upcoming webinar, whether treatments are beginning, or anything that might be developing. You can get your information from us through emails or through our Facebook group. The last thing I'm going to ever ask you to do is if you ever happen to see a Japanese beetle and you're out and about, especially if it's outside of a treatment area, to take a picture and send us that picture. You can upload it online or send us an email and even give us a phone call. That's all that I kind of wanted to talk about to give you a little bit of information about Japanese beetle and leave a lot of time for questions. If you have your cell phone and you're interested, you can scan this QR code, leave your contact information, leave us a little bit of feedback on the project if you have any questions, etc. Sorry, I think I'm back. Yeah, so you can scan that QR code. You can give us some feedback. You can also leave it anonymously if you like. If you would like me to add you to any of our contact lists, please leave your contact information, or if you want me to get back to you, I'll need that contact information as well. So if there's any questions at this time, go ahead and post them in the chat box. You can also ask it in the Q&A. So there was a question earlier that I'm reading. What effect does the treatment have on earthworms and night crawlers? Camilo Acosta, thank you for feeling that and answering that. The answer was there are no known adverse effects of Acecloprid on earthworms. Thank you, very informative and scary. I do see a hand raise. I'm going to go ahead and mute myself. You can take yourself off mute and ask your question, and then we will field it for you. Gerardo, if you're trying to talk, I can't hear
Oh,
you.
shall
You'll
we?
need to take yourself off mute.
How about now? Can I be heard?
I can hear you.
Oh, perfect. I was just gonna give a suggestion. I mean, throughout the whole thing, I was wondering why so you guys don't have a QR code so that people can, easily access the website. I have a hard time looking at the letters, so a QR code is much easier to do, especially with a cell phone. Um, and I thought it was funny that at the very end, just for feedback, you guys actually have a QR code. Anyways, that was all.
Thank you, Gerardo. Cassie, were you able to hear that?
Yeah, thank you so much. Sorry, I had my volume turned down. I think that is great feedback. I'm really appreciative of it, and we will definitely work to add those in moving forward.
Cassie, there's a question in the chat from Colin that I can take as well.
Yeah, so the question in the chat box, Camila, take it away, but it is, are there adverse effects on praying mantis?
Yeah, so Colin, I'll answer. You also ask about other beneficial insects. So the thing about acelepryn is it is under the low risk label, and so there's actually been some research done into their effects on earthworms specifically, like you actually asked about, or somebody else asked about earlier, or no, it was you, and then also pollinators. And I am not sure about praying mantises, but what the mechanism that acelepryn uses to kill the grubs, it's pretty targeted, and the the way that it works and actually kills the grubs and the larvae that it consumes, um, with our method of treatment, it is mostly a danger for larvae that live underground and feed on turf grass roots or ornamental roots. So my educated guess would be there would be little to no adverse effects on praying mantises either, um, just by what I know from the label and the product. And thank you for your question. I think there's also some people typing, so we'll let them get their questions out.
Perfect. Yeah. If you go onto our website, we do have a treatment webpage that has a lot of more information on acelepryn that you can read. There is a fact handout also. I'll go ahead and post that link in the chat box. It has some of the most commonly asked questions that people have for us. And again, if you have questions that we haven't got to or answered, feel free to go ahead and follow up in an email. The next question that I'm reading in the chat box here is, what can we do in preparing? Oh, sorry, I missed one. What can we do in preparing for treatment? And then I'll go back.
So
So
go ahead, Cassie.
So a couple of things that you can do to prepare for treatment is, the first thing, when you fill out your consent form, make sure that the information that you're leaving, your contact information, is accurate. So that way we can get a hold of you to notify you prior to the treatment. You will likely receive a recording or an email, depending on how you sign up, that will have a little bit of information in it. But preparing and preparing your yard is important. Kind of making sure that anything's removed so that people entering the yard are safe, including animals, as well as most of those areas can be treated. And then having your gates unlocked too. Typically in the past, you have got an advance notice saying, we will be coming to treat your property within the next 3 business days or the next 2 business days. So you have a pretty good guess on timing for that. Okay. And then there's a question in here. If I want to treat my own lawn or shrubs by myself, how or where do I obtain the chemicals? We do have a self-treatment PDF that I'll share with you. If you do not have Japanese beetle, you do not need to be treating for Japanese beetle. We really encourage that you sign up for treatment with us because it is coming from a licensed professional that's using a very selective pesticide so that it's targeting Japanese beetle and we're not wiping out tons of other insects that we don't need to be targeting for. Whereas if you go to the store and buy something over the counter, it may be less selective. But I'll go ahead and post that link into the chat box for you. The other thing that you can do, is look for Japanese beetle on your property in the summer, dump them into soapy water to get rid of them. So the link to the fact sheet is going into the chat box.
There's a hand up, but I don't know if it's an old one or not.
Yeah, Colin, if you had a question, now's a good chance to take yourself off mute and ask. If not, just go ahead and put your hand back down.
Sorry, it took me a while to figure out where the unmute was. I usually don't use Teams. So,
No problem.
Follow-up question, in terms of the beneficials, type of insects that actually have larvae that go into the lawns, does that include ladybugs? Or those type of beneficial beetles that eat aphids and stuff like that? Oh, and I'm not sure if they actually go into lawns. And then the second part of the question is, if you don't have turf, but like in our backyard, it's all pretty much bark, do Japanese beetles, larvae actually find their way in those type of settings, environment as well?
Hey, Colin, thanks for the questions. So as far as ladybugs go, when we treat with a celiprin, if an insect has a larval stage underground, so another one um, that could be, affected, Japanese beetles are scarab beetles, and in our area and down there in the Tri-Cities, for example, we get a lot of reports of um, a lot of May beetles, a lot of June beetles coming out around the same time the Japanese beetle does, and their larvae have a very similar morphology to Japanese beetle grubs. So those grubs ingesting a celiprin by eating those plant roots would also be affected. Now, um, with respect to ladybugs, I am not sure that I don't know of a species of ladybug that has a larval stage underground. Um, and so in turn they wouldn't be affected by a celiprin, but maybe someone else can clarify. Oh, Sven, didn't see you there.
Hi, Sven Spichiger. I'm the pest program manager here at Washington State Department of Agriculture. I was also a state entomologist for 20 some years in Pennsylvania and another 5 here before I moved up to this job. So ladybugs are in the family Cossinellidae, and they are predatory as immatures and also as adults. There's a couple of species that are plant feeders, but generally feeding on the leaves, and they're generally thought of as pest species. So the predatory larvae of ladybugs generally will not be coming in contact with a celiprin. Most of those feed on plants, basically feeding on plant pests. So again, as Camila mentioned, it's a safe use pesticide. It's the best we can do. Having grown up in the East, what I do know, where Japanese beetle has been established for many, many years, since like 1906, is people do tend to take it into their own hands because they don't want to see their roses or their gardens being decimated by the beetle. And they're usually what they use back east are some harsher insecticides, like 7, which is a carbamate, and then also pyrethrins, which are really non-discriminate. They kill everything. They're not as long-lived. But what I can assure you, and this isn't speculation, is that the pesticide load is a lot heavier if you let these beetles get established, because people take it into their own hands to protect their property, and they don't always do the right thing. So, you know, as Cassie had said, you'll have a licensed professional using a more targeted pesticide. Can't guarantee we won't kill a praying mantis. You know, that's there are some unfortunate casualties, but the casualties get a lot higher if the beetle population gets out of control and people start using pesticides which are a lot harsher, like the carbamates and some of the other classes. So I hope that clarifies it a little bit.
It does, Sven. Thank you. I appreciate that. And the follow up is if you don't have turf, but you have like you know, like a mulch sort of area that has ornamentals, I guess would those places be treated as well?
I'll defer back to our operations manager, Camilo.
Yeah, Colin, if you don't have turf, there wouldn't be treatment, but in an area where you have kind of a mulch surface under some ornamentals, we are able to spray in those areas. We just wouldn't be spraying, you know, any vegetable or fruit gardens, things like that. But areas under ornamentals, we can, with the label, we can spray those.
All right, that's all I have. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Great questions, great conversations. If you have any last questions, please go ahead and post them in the chat box. I'll go ahead and post the last minute of the contact information. But I really appreciate you taking the time out of your evening to join us, learn about Japanese beetle, and I really encourage you to sign up for treatments, talk to your neighbors. We really need everybody to sign up. We want to see that 100% response rate and go in there and be able to treat everyone's lawns. Remind everyone that it's going to take us years of doing this too. So you're going to have to sign up again next year. But with that being said, thank you. All of you have a wonderful evening and a great Tuesday night.